Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'll call this session a chit chat session. As you can see, I have my cup of tea. Today I'm not talking about how to apply for no visa, so I'm going to be talking about something more relaxed, something more experience wise, and I'm going to be comparing living in 3 different countries, because I've lived in 3 different countries in the last, we'll say, 10 years. I'm going to compare living in Nigeria, living in Belgium, and living in the UK. And I've lived in Nigeria all my life before moving to Belgium. I lived in Belgium for about 2 years, and now I'm living in the UK. And I think I've lived in the UK longer than I lived in Belgium, so this video is long overdue. Should have happened maybe a year ago, but I'm going to give you a review of my experience. From my perspective, your experience may be different, but this is entirely from my perspective of living in these 3 different countries. So the general vibe that the United Kingdom, UK, the general vibe that it gives me is structured, is opportunity driven, and is very fast paced. Of course, it's compared to those 2 countries I'm talking about. And then the general vibe that Belgium gives me is calm, is relaxed, and is system driven. And then Nigeria, Nigeria is intense, Nigeria is vibrant, Nigeria is community led. Of course, that's where I grew up, so I'm a bit biased. The community in Nigeria is the biggest, is the best compared to these other 2 different countries. These 2 countries, Belgium and the UK, they are a bit more individualistic compared to Nigeria. So let's talk about the first aspect I'm comparing today. It's the cost of living versus the quality of life. We'll start with Nigeria. The cost of living in Nigeria is low, or was low when I was living there. That's about 6 years ago. The cost of living was not as bad as it is now. And of course, it differs from city to city. But compared to these other 2 countries, the cost of living in Nigeria is still relatively lower. However, the quality of life does not exactly match the cost of living. So you may spend quite a lot in order to get comfort. So you find that people are spending their hard-earned money on things that they shouldn't be naturally paying for with their money, that their taxes should be paying for. For example, your electricity that you're supposed to have supplied by the government is not being supplied. You are spending your hard-earned money, even after paying tax, you're spending your hard-earned money in generator and fuel and all that. Security, you have to rent your own security if you want a level of comfort, and also some other aspects of life. So definitely, if you are rich, you can have a good quality of life. But an average person, their naira does not go as far to give them comfort. And what will make it really worse for you is if you live in Lagos or cities like Abuja, that you really need to have money to have a level of comfort. But living in Lagos is fun. It's really fun. It pushes you. It makes you work harder. It makes you want to get. However, it's not so comfortable for an average earner. So you find that people live together with their friends in a one bed, or spend so much in transportation because they want to live in a not so expensive part of town and commute to work. It's a very difficult life. But once you're able to break that medium to low income earning ceiling, you'll have a very comfortable life. Belgium, on the other hand, is a bit expensive. However, the things you spend your money on shows directly in your life. So there's really strong structures, there's really strong system, and also the social benefit scheme is incredible, even way better than the one we have in the UK. That when you pay your taxes, all the services that you're paying for, you're getting them, and you're also getting a bit more. So people are a bit more relaxed. They don't spend so much time trying to get. So it encourages a quieter life, a calmer life. That's sort of socialist system that people are not entirely worried about much, because they know that the system has got them. and also on the quality of life. When you live in different cities like Leuven, which is where I live, very beautiful city by the way, highly recommend. Ostend, there are some cities that are a bit quiet, they're not so busy, they're not so vibrant. You get a nice quiet life. But if you live in Brussels, it's a bit more hustle bustle, fast paced, but not as much as Lagos or London. So it's still calmer compared to the other two capital cities of the countries I'm comparing. So let's go to the last one, the UK. Oh my God, the UK is expensive. It's not just London. London is, of course, is outrageous. Every other city, UK right now is very expensive. It's expensive, it's expensive, it's expensive. I'm in pains. That's why I'm stressing this expensiveness. I am in pains. The UK is expensive. And if you not live in London, you'll suffer. I'm sorry. London is not for the weak. But the problem is, if you live in a different city, maybe a calmer city, somewhere in the Midlands or up north, life is not as enjoyable as it is in like living in London. You could just go outside, take a train, and you land in the airport and you're out of the country. If you want to have fun, you could go outside. There are posters everywhere of things that are happening around. I love living in London, that's why I'm stressing this, but living in London is very expensive. Living in the UK is very expensive. However, the social benefit system is still okay, but it's too much. There's a lot of pressure on it right now. Another thing I have to say, very important. While Belgium social benefit system covers both immigrants, covers both internationals and expats and students, the UK tend not to allow international students to benefit from social benefits. Belgium, you can benefit as long as you're working, you're paying taxes, you can benefit. But the UK, if you're not a permanent resident, they don't allow you, claim no benefits, which I don't think makes sense because you are contributing. But anyways, it is what it is. So in the positive side of the UK is it has a global economy. It has a lot of access to the rest of the world. There's exposure, there's opportunities, it's more competitive. You will be driven, you will be challenged to do more, to move more. So it's, in that sense, it is nicer, it is better. However, the bills will humble you very, very quickly, especially if you live in London. The next aspect I want to talk about is work and career growth. In Nigeria, my beloved Nigeria, if you want a career and you want to grow in that career, it used to be a lot of who you know and who knows who you know. Sometimes you apply for jobs, you have the great CV, you do well, and it turns out the job was already filled before you even applied. So that's a challenge. And however, if you do have good skills, if you do have good knowledge, you can make it into some really good graduate programs within some companies, especially financial institutions. I used to say this a lot. Financial institutions did a great job at employing a lot of talented graduates. They are one of the industries that you can at least bank on, that's not dependent on who you know and who knows who. Some other industries that you bid to, there's a lot of nepotism going on within those industries, and it's not encouraging as well. But one thing I know about Nigeria is if you are hardworking, if you are entrepreneurial, like you can create wealth by yourself and go beyond that and employ people, you will go extremely far. You will do amazingly in Nigeria because there's numbers. We have more than 240 million people, and there's a huge market for almost anything that you want to do. You just have to hunker down, be serious, be hardworking, and you get what you need to get. Another thing I want to say about Nigeria is that job security can be very unpredictable. It depends on the industry you are. Some industries are more secure than the others. So work and career in Belgium is so relaxed. Oh my God. There's no hustle culture. Like literally they encourage work-life balance. They want you to rest. They want you to take time off. They want you to relax. It is encouraged at work. It is encouraged at the governmental level. It's encouraged everywhere. Work-life balance is taken very seriously in Belgium. However, the downside of this is that you will be growing slower. Instead of climbing high in your career ladder very quickly, it feels very slow to grow in your career. And for me particularly, I had a major challenge with language, where if you're not employed in tech or some other similar field, if you're employed in the humanities or social sciences, you're required to speak the language. At least you need to have a good professional level of Dutch and French, not all, and French. And that was a bit of a challenge for me. Ik spreek een beetje Nederlands, but that is it. I can't speak any more than a little bit of Dutch. I did the 1.1, 1.2, and that was it. I couldn't get to that level where I was speaking professionally, and that was quite difficult to navigate. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to give myself a fighting chance and reject back to somewhere else where I don't have to fight the language. So there was that. Career in the UK it's very structured, which is good. It's very structured, it's very systemic. You need to compete, you need to work hard, you need to show your talent, you need to show your skills. And if you want to, you can grow really quickly. And the thing about my perspective, which is, immigrants' perspective, you have to prove yourself twice as much as somebody that grew up in the system. And also you have to not just learn the job, you have to learn the culture with the job. Because you can't be going about your business in the workplace and somebody else is offended by your existence. And that is not your fault or their fault. It can't just be chalked down to cultural differences. I'll give you an instance. As a Nigerian, we are loud, we are proud, we are confident, and we pretty much straightforward in the way we say in the way we talk about the things that we know. The British culture doesn't exactly encourage that. They are polite, they are indirect, they don't express their ideas in a confident, I can do this manner. It's more subtle, it's more, so if you give you an instance, instead of saying, as a Nigerian, I would say, that idea might not work, let's try it this way, which I think is, of course, the better way. A British person would come up with like, oh yeah, that's a very interesting idea, it's a good idea, but not even but. You're going to be like, perhaps we can try this or that way. You see, there's a nuance about it. So you have to learn all of this and then learn the job as well, and then put everything together and make sure that you are, so it's twice as hard, but it's something that you can learn if you put your mind to it. After all, you're going to be in their system, learn their system. The third aspect I'm talking about is lifestyle and mental health. Very, very important. As a Nigerian living in Nigeria, life is fun, life is good. You have your family members, don't throw away from you. You have your friends not so far away from you. You can go to their house, they can come to your house. You can go and plan events together, go out, go to like a Pine Tropicana, which was really hot in my day. Just have fun. And of course, your mental health is better for it, However, the thing that stresses you the most is not from your community level, it's from the government. The thing that stresses you the most, the thing that affects your mental health is the lack of infrastructure, all those things that were supposed to be done for us by the government that are not being done. That is where the mental stress comes in. So when it comes to lifestyle and mental health of a Nigerian living in Belgium, or maybe Belgians too, because there's not a lot of pressure from work, is calmer, is slower, is relaxed. You can enjoy yourself if you really like your own space and your own head. You'll be fine mentally. However, if you need community, if you're someone that becomes better with people around, you might find it a bit difficult because they respect boundaries a lot. Not just physical boundaries, all kinds of boundaries, they respect it a lot. So you find that people are a bit to themselves. Even if they need people, they will not come outside and say it. They will not come outside and say, oh, can we spend time? They will not even, it's a lot of space. I give you space, you give you space. And I'm not used to that. So that was a bit of a challenge for me. Thankfully, I had some friends around, Nigerian friends around to help me, yeah. So which makes it sort of difficult to integrate as an international, except you are really determined and you're that extroverted person that can push, is something that can make it a bit challenging to integrate. Lifestyle and mental health in the UK. There is the NHS. They say they have therapists, but you have to wait. However, before you get to the need for a therapist, it's very independent in the UK. It's very to yourself as well, kind of similar to Belgium in that way, especially if you live in cities that are not clustered and busy like London, Manchester, Leeds. If you live in calmer, quieter cities, you're a lot to yourself. But if you live in busier cities, you can run into communities at work, social clubs, and maybe people you can talk to once in a while and you can hang out with. But still similar to Belgium, these people have their friends already. So you only meet in a context of a specific subject. And once that subject is done, everybody to your own. Madam to kettle, back to business. So that makes it difficult. However, if you feel like you don't have a sound mental health, things are affecting you personally, the NHS is always there and it's free. You can contact them and you'll be fine. So this final aspect I'm going to talk about is travel and exposure. If you are a Nigerian, applying for visas with a Nigerian passport, it's another struggle. It is a struggle. You have to prove that you're everything. You have to prove that you're a human being. You have work, you have sense, you have life, you have family, you have ambition, you have future. You have to prove everything before you can be granted a visa. And that in itself is a challenge. If you want to explore the world and travel and, see the globe you were born into, it is a problem. God have mercy upon us. However, if you're able to get a few stamps on your passport, it gets a little easier. But you still have to prove all the provables. So that makes, it's difficult. And also flights to and from Nigeria to countries, even within Africa, they're really expensive. And that doesn't encourage a lot of exploration. The best country to live in within these three for travel and all that is Belgium. Belgium is in the middle of a lot of beautiful European cities. And you don't need so much money to travel when you're living in Belgium. So when I moved to Belgium in 2020, I went to Italy with less than 50 euros. Yep. I went to France. That France trip was me and my friends, and I don't think I spent up to 80 euros. I think it was about 70 euros or something. And we saw Paris, we saw all the nice, Eiffel Tower and all that with just that little money. And there's a saying that if you, from any point in Belgium, you start driving, in less than 2 hours, you end up at the border of Belgium. It's so small. You can drive to France. We used to drive to Lille in France to go shopping. There's a big supermarket in Lille where you can buy lots of cheap food items. You can drive to France. You can drive to the Netherlands. You can take a train, it's 30 euros. Take a train from Belgium to the Netherlands. Spend a full day there and come back. Or maybe spend a night there and come back. You can go to Luxembourg. It borders Belgium as well. You can even come to the UK via train. It's a bit more expensive than the other inter-European cities that you can go to. So it's easier to travel within Belgium. And also, within Belgium, the train fare is cheap and predictable. So the train fare is a fixed price And then you don't have to, for example, you buy a ticket, that ticket is for a full day. There's no specific time that you have to use that ticket. However, in the UK, you have to use that ticket for a specific time. And if you're going to not do that, you have to pay more for a different kind of ticket that will allow you to use for a full day. And the tickets are so unpredictable that if you have an event to go to next week and try to find tickets for trains now, you'll be looking at paying for almost ×3 the normal rate. The transport within the UK, they need to work on it because there's so many beautiful cities in the north of England. There's Whitby, there's Scarborough, there's Blackpool, there's the Lake District, that I feel like instead of traveling to mainland Europe, people can just go to and explore and go back home. However, the train rides to these places are too expensive. They are more expensive than taking a flight outside and go to Albania and Montenegro instead of doing these ones. So they need to work on the train system so there's good intercity exploration. Yeah, I think that's the end of my rant. So given the comparisons between these 3 countries, which one do you think you'd like to stay in? Put a comment below. And if you want me to make videos like this, just put any topic that you like me to talk about in the comment sections and I'll do that. What else? Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Please subscribe, like, give me a follow on Instagram or TikTok. I don't put a lot of my content there. I just like to leave that place as creative outlets for when and if I get inspiration. But yes, give me a follow. Thank you. Bye-bye. Peace out.